You want to become a Decepticon. You must prove your loyalty. Get rid of your scientist friend Skyfire.
Yes, Megatron. I will prove to you I can be a Decepticon. Skyfire, come quick. There is a strong energon reading right here. Come closer and get a reading. I think we found it.
Are you sure, Starscream? Okay.
Zzz.
What was that?
That's my null ray. It'll cause you not to be able to transform. Oops. Bye-bye, Skyfire. No hard feelings.
Oh!
Now to use an ice bomb to finish it off. Ha 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 ha. Now to report to Megatron.
Starscream, you'll pay for what you did to my brother.
Who is this?
The name's Jetfire.
I gotta get out of here. Thundercracker, stop him. Ramjet, stop him. I got. Eat this.
Whoa, that was close. Where is he hiding now? Hello, Legotransformers fans. This is Soundvox with another exciting episode of Legotransformers. Here we have Jetfire. Now, my last video, we did Skyfire. And Skyfire was the G1 version with the face and everything. And I like to think of these two as two separate entities, like two brothers, kind of like the Dreamwave comics did. So, here we have Jetfire, the more powerful fighter version of Skyfire. Skyfire I look at as a scientist, Jetfire I look at as the fighter. Differences you can see right off the back. First, they're based off the same exact structure, the same robot basically. However, I've made some significant modifications to Jetfire to make him cooler. First off, you can notice he has these tips at the ends of his tail wings. These tips give him a nice red look to the white look, and I have reinforced thrusters. On top of that, we have these new little mini guns here on the sides of his cannons, and they'll have multi-functions later. In addition, you see a lot more red, dark red in fact. We have some dark red slopes here, and some smooth dark red pieces here. This gives them a more armored up look. Jetfire had more of the armor going on, as opposed to Skyfire. Now let's do a quick size comparison. First we have Jetfire in jet mode, next to Thundercracker. Now remember last time I compared Skyfire to Thundercracker, and Thundercracker used to be my biggest jet. He's the biggest one of my Seekers. So you can see here he is much smaller than Jetfire, which makes a lot of sense because Jetfire is a huge jet transformer that transported the Autobots around. Now let's compare him to a Lego minifigure. Since my Transformers are a smaller scale, they're clearly not in scale of minifigures, but I used a minifigure as a good size comparison, because everybody knows the size of a minifigure. Now let's compare him to Thrust in robot mode. The reason I'm comparing him to Thrust in robot mode is because Thrust is a smaller transformer, and I just wanted to show the comparison between the robot size and the vehicular size, because Jetfire is a large vehicle. And now, one more transformer, we'll bring in Megatron. Another robot to vehicle comparison, we have Megatron in robot mode compared to Jetfire in vehicle mode. That's just to get a kind of size between my transformers of how big Jetfire actually is. So let's take a closer look at Jetfire. You can see how those nice dark reds fill him out. You can see how these little cannons make him look like a flying fortress almost. And he's a very big jet. Very large. Okay, so Jetfire is also the cooler of the two, Skyfire and Jetfire, even though many will say they're the same guy. Let's transform Jetfire into robot mode. So first we'll lower the legs. And the reason I'm doing the legs first is because Jetfire comes from the Macross line, the Robotech Macross. And so they have the third mode known as the gearwalk mode. And that's when you have the jet cockpit, but you have legs like a robot, and you have arms. So let's bring out the arms. Now the arms, I changed how these are done since I did Skyfire. These are more secure than Skyfire's arms, which are just hooked on a little clip and hinge joint. These actually use that same frying pan piece. I call it a frying pan because it looks like one. And if you put it in a Lego man's hand, it looks like a frying pan. But I use that to make the pin connection into his shoulder. This is a much sturdier connection, and it has more versatility. So now we can pull that out. And when I put him in robot mode, I'll show off his articulation, so you'll see the versatility of that joint. Rotate out his hands. You'll also notice, because of the way I did the smoothness on top, his hands are a little longer than the original mold that I built. And let's bring this side out. Oop. The one problem is there is one stud here, and I'm using stud friction on the elbow joint, so they are very loose and can come off very easily. Alrighty, so now we have Jetfire in his gearwalk mode. And he can almost stand up in gearwalk mode. And so basically this is that little Robotech middle mode. I showed it off with Skyfire as well. It does look pretty cool. You have the jet cockpit, the guy would be inside, he's got his hands to hold his cannons, and he's got feet to walk with, and wings to fly with. Alright, enough of that, because this ain't Robotech, this is Legotransformers. So what do we do with Legotransformers? We transform them into robots. So let's finish the transformation. You just rotate his legs down, then he can stand up. Now he is still very back heavy, so to help him with his back, I'm going to take his cannons off his back right now, and just set them down here off to the side. Now we'll rotate his wings up. And you notice I have these little red studs underneath his wings, these dark red studs, as the Autobot symbols. Now we'll pull his body forward, and we'll rotate his chest down. This, once again, is on a ratchet joint. However, I did do some reinforcing to give him kind of a bulkier chest here to hold in these new joints. Then we'll fold his body back up. And now we'll fold his cockpit down on a ratchet joint as well. I have to kind of hold his chest and rotate it down. Those ratchet joints are very strong. Way stronger than a single stud Okay. Now, we need to do his head. So the way that single stud connection, stud friction, fell off again. Okay, so to do his head, we rotate these cannons up to the top. Now you'll notice his head just kind of disassembled. This piece here has a short stud, so when the stud friction of this one little piece here doesn't hold very well together. So that's the one downside of this design. But I designed it this way to fit his head in transformation, because you'll notice his head looks a lot different. Where my Skyfire was just one square with a stud on front, this one has a lot more intricacies to it. When we rotate the head around. Now you can see these one stud connections are very weak. They do the trick, but it's tough to keep the arms in place sometimes. Finish rotating the wings up. And now we have Jetfire in robot mode. And right off the back, you could see one of the differences is his head. He's got this slope piece here. It's like a tooth for many sets. This piece is being used as a face mask, and it looks great as his face mask. In addition, I gave him a blue visor, and those two guns make his two antennae on the sides of his head. Now they're more on the back in this Lego version, using an eyepiece to hold them on. But from the front, it looks like they're coming out of the sides. And it makes him look great. In addition, the new joints I used in his shoulders, not only can he butterfly forward and back, but he has shoulder rotation. So now his arm can go up and down. So that's pretty cool. And his arm can turn on the single stud. And his hands are also on single studs to rotate. His feet are a little loose, the joints, so they don't want to hold up, so I have to hold them up quite a bit. Now remember last time, his cannons had a clip on the back that clipped into his hands, and he kind of held them sideways. Well, I've changed that. Now that I use this frying pan piece, we can actually use them like handles. And we can hang them into his sides, right here. And it's a much looser hold, so his cannons can come out easier. So it's not like you're detaching a limb or something every time. Now I'm going to zoom out just a hair because he is a pretty big robot. And I want you to see him real well. Now, we're going to take his cannon out of his holster and put it in his hand. To put it in his hand, you rotate the little frying pan handle down. And you take his hand and you slide it into the handpiece. Just like so. And once again, that single stud elbow joint came apart. And so now he can hold his cannon. He is a little gappy between the robot's back and the backpack. And for some reason, the legs don't want to cooperate with me. Even though they got black joints, black pegs in the joints, I think this one square piece here is a tiny little crack right there. So it's getting very loose. I've noticed nowadays a lot of my Legos are actually cracking. I don't know if they're just old pieces or if they're cheaper quality nowadays than they used to be. Though they have much cooler pieces now. I just have noticed doing this, I get a lot more cracking pieces and breaking pieces. Now here's Jetfire in robot mode, carrying his cannon in his hand. So he can blast away the evil Decepticons. I can rotate his arm. So now let's do some quick size comparisons. Get our minifigure in here. That shows you Jetfire is a really huge transformer. Much taller than that tiny little minifigure. Still not in scale with the minifigure. If he was in scale, the minifigure would only be as high as this red piece. If it was real scale. Okay, we'll bring in Thrust again. Thrust was an average size of one of my bots, and he's only half as tall as Jetfire. Well, Jetfire is quite the giant. just like Skyfire was. My Jetfire is slightly taller because of these red pieces and these reinforced thrusters. And we'll bring in Megatron. Megatron's about the same as Optimus Prime in size. And so even Megatron is not even up to Jetfire's shoulders. So I hope you enjoyed my last video about Skyfire, and now enjoy this video about Jetfire. Jetfire is a really awesome looking Transformer the way I did it. I like it. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I wish the stud friction was a little stronger. I may have to use stronger flat 2 pieces there to hold them in place. So if you like my Lego Transformers, give me a like. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave a comment. And if you want to see more, I have plenty more Lego Transformers built that I can't wait to show the world. So just subscribe to catch the next video so you don't miss a minute of Soundvox Lego Transformers.